So it's great to have, and I can't wait to hear you tell us about this work.
Yes, I thank you all for coming to this room with me. And basically, this series was inspired for me going to Meissen, Germany about a decade ago. And when I had gone there, I found this beautiful artwork made by this man called Johann Handler. And he made the monkey orchestra, and there are lots of little characters, monkeys that look very much like this, except miniatures. And I fell in love with that. Plus, he did hundreds and hundreds of other animals for Augustus the Strong. So Augustus the Strong is a character himself. He hired this guy Kendler to make hundreds of these sculptures for a house called a Japanese house. The house never got made, but all the sculptures did. So I was very inspired by what I saw. And that was the impetus of the clay and the monkey, but not the theme yet. So I didn't know what I was going to do with the theme, but I knew I wanted my material. I knew what I wanted to work with. So I had the porcelain, I had the baboons. They use monkeys. I like baboons because they're more like, they're more dog-like in a way, and I just like the way their body shape. So then I went to Italy shortly after that, and I went to Pisa, and there was a mural there, a fresco of the sins and virtues. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Sins and virtues in porcelain with these baboons. And again, the reason why I use baboons is because they're inspired by Meissen, all of the characters they had done there, and also they have opposable fingers, and they make incredible, very human-like expressions. So I created 14 of these. They're all done. These are 9 of them. And at this point, Meissen, I had a show there over the summer, and 3 of the pieces were there. Kindness and Diligence Kintsugi was there. And they liked Diligence Kintsugi so much that at this point they're going to make a copy of it and make reproductions with 3D scanning it. So I will now be a licensed artist. So that's, for a porcelain person who basically learned on our own, that to me is an incredible achievement. And I also loved having them in this beautiful castle, Albertsburg Castle, because it felt like they were coming home to their origins. I was one of the 23 other artists who showed there. And I just like figurative art. I like to have a little humor, if possible. And I love telling stories in clay. So as an illustrator, when I was first coming out of Parsons School of Design, I was an illustrator for many years, and I love doing book illustrations. And to me, this is a natural way to go from illustrating in 2D to 3D. So some of the sculptures are very elaborate. Some of them are a little bit tricky to figure out what it is. I'm glad there is signage. The reason why there's some of them that are glazed and some of them aren't is I was telling everybody that the first 6 were the sins, and I wanted them to look very much like the ones in Germany, and so I glazed them. And the second 7, actually, I didn't glaze them because I love the way the light comes through and penetrates through the porcelain. It's so much glass in it that you can actually see through it. And I just felt it was like eggshell and like horror marble, and I just loved the way that looked. And I do like humor. I try to put, if I can add in the humor to my work, to me that's like an extra. Sometimes it's hard to find humor, like in kindness. That was one of the hardest things for me to actually illustrate in clay, because to show something that is a virtue, sometimes you have to show the opposite. So kindness, we have a man who came along and saved a baby bird, but it looks like somebody killed the mommy. Like, we don't know if it was him or not. He doesn't have a bow and arrow on it, but maybe he did, we don't know. And Chastity, he's just kind of sitting there and playing his lute. And along comes his little Fraulein, and she's like trying to tempt him to something else with underwear on his lute, bra throwing over her head. And she's dancing and calls him all kinds, so he can't concentrate. He's a mess. And then over here we have abstinence. And abstinence is all about, of course, abstaining from eating the tasty food here. And in his backpack, he has delicious, healthy, celery and fish and lettuce. And he's thinking whether he should go ahead and eat that or not. And I think it's fun that I really enjoy. Well, I enjoy making it, but my husband and I went out and bought a McDonald's hamburger and French fries for the first time in 20 years. So that was a fun thing to do and kind of funny. And then this one here is Delicious Atsuki, and this is the one that's going to be reproduced in Meissen. And this is the third one that I've made. First one sold, second one's in Germany, and this third one is probably the largest one of all of them. And so he's just practicing something that is a poetic way of mending, a Japanese way of mending porcelain. And it's done with a resin, a natural resin, to adhere the two broken dishes, and then gold leaf is put on to cover it up.
Tricia, could you talk about your process? You said you were an illustrator first, and then you actually do the carving for you do the clay, and then does somebody else do it from there, or do you do all of this?
I do it.
You do it all?
Do you fire them too?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So, but the fun thing, well, so I learned how to do porcelain on my own, but I use my kiln is, the name of it is called Scud. It's the company. So I call them to help me program my kiln. So it's like I don't have to figure that out. So some things I rely on. But so I come up with a basic sketch. This sketch was super simple. But some of them are more elaborate because I don't know where it's going to go, and I better draw it out so I don't get too crazy. That one got out of hand. That I still feel like there's more I can tell, but that was funny. I did a very loose, again, very simple sketch. Probably should tell me something about, maybe I should do a more detailed sketch, because it can get carried away if I don't do something more detailed, but it's nice. I mean, it's an artistic exploration. It's sort of like not knowing where you're going to go when you start out a piece. So it leaves me that freedom to elaborate on my piece. So I do a simple sketch, and then when it's very complicated, I might do a maquette. And a maquette is a small sculpture. So sometimes, like this one, I think I did a maquette, that one, maybe that one too. There are ones I've done maquettes for. So I use that as a sample to see where things can go wrong or where things are going to go right. And I want to elaborate. So then I start molding. So I get my clay, take a chunk out, and I mold the body, and then I mold the arms and legs, and then the head on a lump of clay. And then I chop everything and put it together. So it's all then like kind of roughed out like a sketch. So it's not finished. And then, so once I cut them, mold them and cut them up, I hollow it, and then I put it back together. And then I do the details, like that guy with the lace and the hat, all that's put on the last thing. So,
And how did you learn to do all this stuff with clay? Was that something that you had worked with clay separately before?
I did work with clay before I started porcelain. I wouldn't just jump in. I would highly suggest people do not jump in this being your first clay. It's not a beginner's clay because it's got a lot of. I mean, you could if you're left alone long enough, you'll figure it out. You know, it's like I did, but I had some experience ahead of time. I did learn the basic fundamentals here in Summit, New Jersey, with a woman, Marguerite Brennan. And she told me, I was there probably about 8 years or so, learning fundamentals. Then she left and I left, and things, Anyway, so from there I did workshops, but I never took a class in porcelain. I just fell in love with it. It's sort of like falling in love with anything. If you really want it, If you really love it, you'll figure it out. You'll do it. And so trial and error, things still happen, whatever. You know, it's like things will crack. And that's why I put him in the front here, because I see him as my maestro, because he's like the god of fixing. He's like, he'll fix any cracks that will happen. He himself is cracked, so meant to look cracked. So you can see in the back, on his arms, on his leg, he's meant to look, he wasn't actually, but he was meant to look like the fixer, and even the fixer has got cracks. And so the gold leaf is 22 karat, and that's put on afterwards. So,
Are you doing any other bodies of work in porcelain right now, and what?
well, the funny thing is that it's so diverse. Like every virtue and every sin, you can do the rest of your life. So I feel. So right now I'm redoing Wrath, and Wrath is anger, and I'm doing him as a samurai. And he's very large. It's taken me since.
Still a baboon, though.
It's a baboon. He's dressed up as a samurai. He's got a sword behind him, and he's about to come down onto dozens of butterflies.
Wow.
So the reason why is that, to me, anger is fruitless. How many, drivers do you see get out of the car and start yelling? I mean, really, it's like, why? Like, why? That's what it should be called. Like, why? For this particular sculpture. But it's very elaborate. So this one the one I'm working on, the samurai, did take a market. So where I'm going now, for now, is redoing some of it. And they are going to stay in without being glazed. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with mice, and I might be going back because they're talking about glazing it like that, and I'm not really, I don't want them glazed, and they're talking about coloring it, so I'll be back. Right back to see
When
that.
they're not glazed, to your point, they look a lot more like stone, like carving. There's something.
That's why I like that.
I like
Yeah,
that
I do
surface.
too.
Yeah.
Also, when the light goes through his hat, it's just because it's cut out, and the light coming through from both sides, it just does something that is so magical that I'd like to continue doing more of that. So yeah, I'm doing another piece of a monkey holding, he's holding a bird, a peregrine falcon, and he's got these elaborate wings, and their wings are very much like his hat. So, and it would be smaller. So I am continuing this theme. And I'm not like sworn into monkeys, like monkeys only, monkeys will die, but, and they're baboons, by the way. I like them because they're us. They're us without us, saying, okay, well, when I did Lust, you could push it further as a monkey, as opposed to, being humans. And I think it's funnier. I like their expressions. You can get away with a lot more funny, like this guy's funny.
And what's your source for what does a baboon look like? Are you looking at pictures of real baboons or what? Because I know you've illustrated.
Sometimes I find like the best photograph.
Yeah.
That one, believe it or not, Chastity, the girl dancing. I found a baboon that was doing that. She didn't have dressed like that, but pretty close. And I was like, I started it with that. Sometimes I fall in love with the baboon, and I go then I try to find sloth, same thing. I found a photograph of a baboon on a bench, sitting like that. And I'm like, oh man, he's such a sloth. So, sometimes it starts with a photograph, sometimes it starts with an idea. Sometimes I get very involved, it's so interesting. There's a little girl that was in here just earlier, and she realized, I don't know if anyone else here, but realized that Envy, the woman in the middle, was pregnant and she was wealthy. Not all the adults get that. I mean, they look at her like, but that was one of the more poetic pieces, because there's a lot of story to that. She's got a very, a beggar woman who's coming up to her, who's, looking at her belly maybe, or she's got her hands in maybe not appropriate place, I don't know. And she's got pomegranates there symbolizing fertility, a meat pie in back of her and wine. So the beggar girl coming up to her, she is in rags, and I don't know, I just felt like it was kind of a piece that evolved. Just like Pride also, that was an evolution. I don't even remember if I came up, or maybe the sketch was very simple. But again, when very simple sketches, I end up doing that
Will you do a book?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah.
I did that. And it's fun because I write something about it.
Yeah.
Each one.
Yeah.
But now they're all, a lot of those photographs in there don't look exactly like what you see here because I've modified them since then. Like that guy has a skateboard and that one's on like a platform. And things changed a little bit.
So when you have a juxtaposition or dichotomy like this one with lasciviousness and chastity,
Yeah.
what threw me off is, I didn't know which one it was about. Was there a hint toward the subject and the one that's setting off the subject? Or just wasn't figuring it out? I mean, if I knew it was about this guy, I would have figured it out. If I didn't know it was about that one or that one.
Oh,
So
really?
I was confused.
Ah. Well, that's up to you. You're the.
That's up to
you're
me.
the audience. I have. You know what? Once when I'm gone, it's up to whoever takes these pieces. These are going to go somewhere. They're all going to be in the trash, right? So we hope that they end up somewhere. But it has to live beyond me. So it has to. It has a title. It has a reference. Plenty of internet information there. When someone or museum adopts this piece, adopts this piece, it's up to that person to keep it and cherish it, be careful with it, and then come up with whatever they think it means. And I think some are more obvious. I think kindness you kind of have to look at a little bit to figure out where the heck it's going.
So one more question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm new at this, so I played a game. I covered up the title.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that hint.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to look at the title first?
You're a
Whatever I want, right?
Honestly, that was a decision whether we put the title there. But I feel it's a museum. You put it out there. It needs to be there. But you could walk around and kind of guess. I mean, people think this one is bloody. So but he's not eating it. He's got his fingers to his mouth. He's holding back. So
But it's a really great question because so often, especially with contemporary art, people don't realize how empowered they are. It's really all about
whatever they think.
You are the viewer, and the work is being completed by your interaction with it. And so often people are intimidated and they think, I don't know what it is, or it could just be, what do you think? What does it make you think about? And
Exactly.
I think that was a great impulse that you did that first, and then it's nice to have the labels to give you other information. But yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of would like if people could figure it out, but it doesn't matter to me. Most important is that visually they're interesting. That they have what I call stopping power. Like, that you want to know what he's doing. Like, what's he doing? And I want people to be curious and maybe even squat down and see what the title is, but that's asking a lot. But anyway, but yeah, it's up to everyone, and I do appreciate everyone that's here right now, because without you being here, what is art? What is the sense of it? Art is, I mean, if we were like I was the only person left on earth, would I still make this? Maybe not. Maybe it'd be about survival. But art is an interesting thing. It's a projection, and you want to be looked at. They're begging to be observed by you. And it's like, I don't know what that is. It's like whatever you think. I don't really, whatever you think. But yeah, so thank you all for being here and observing it and making my sculptures happy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tricia.